We are here to meet Dr. Davidson A.ISIBOR Akeme as a presidential candidate on the platform Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria, that's GDPN.
Military intelligence extraction. And if I must tell you, the intelligence community of any nation represents the true subconscious of that nation. I'm coming from that family, the domestic intelligence family and the global intelligence family. That's one. I am very well educated. I have a bachelor's degree in modern European languages, BA French, Portuguese, combined honors, and I have a working knowledge of Spanish. I have a master's degree in criminology. I have a master's degree in international law and diplomacy. I hold fellowship of 5 institutes, accredited institutes, 3 of security and 2 of business.
Okay, sir.
I have a PhD. Okay. I'm undergoing a PhD in political science with specialization in conflict resolution, peace and conflict resolution, which in the next 3 months I should be concluding. So I'm coming from a background of competence. I am the president, national president, Association of Licensed Private Security Practitioners of Nigeria. And that means I'm the commander-in-chief of the unarmed security forces in the private sector of Nigeria. Okay. So, and I'm an administrator. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a chairman group of companies. I employ over 8,000 persons in Nigeria, spread across over 20 states of the Federation. So I've got it coming.
What was your motivation to contest for the #1 position in Nigeria, which happens to be the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria?
I was actually motivated by the fact that all of these years, we, especially persons of my generation, have expected that our country, Nigeria, would have been taken to another level. 21st century global environment requires that nations of our status should be experiencing much better with the endowments that we have as a nation in terms of natural resources and even human resources to some extent. We should not be experiencing the low life that we are experiencing as a people. And I've done an analysis, and I've seen that where we are lacking is in the area of visionary leadership. A leadership that can take us to the points of our expectations. A leadership that will lift the people from the doldrums of poverty as they currently are today. You may be aware that the statistics today on global poverty rating puts Nigeria as the country with the poorest people on planet Earth. And when you juxtapose this, when you compare it with the resources that we have as a nation, you will see that it does not gel. How can a nation so mightily endowed, a nation that's been the 6th or 7th largest producer of oil in all the world since 1958 thereabout, how can such a nation be termed to have the poorest people in the world? That means there's something missing. And that thing that is missing is leadership. Apart from the the degree or the corruption that we have experienced, from our leaders, the massive capital flights that have taken place as a result of corruption from our leaders. We shouldn't be where we are. And then I decided to step into the fray, because I don't think it is rocket science for nations to experience development, for our nation to experience development. We have all it takes, but there seems to be a missing link, and that is visionary leadership. How far do you see? How far have our leaders seen? How far have they seen? Why have they not taken us to that destination where they see? Or is it where we are now that they saw? Then they didn't see far enough. We are coming with vision. We are taking the Nigerian people to Uhuru.
All this knowledge gathered, with all these certifications, with all the experiences you have, do you say that you strongly believe, or you strongly say that you really have what to take Nigeria to where it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Nigeria is a great country. It will take a great vision, or a great visioneer, to take this country to where it ought to be. There's what you call the business of government. We are going to attend to all of that, all of the business of government, entrench good governance in our land. But there's also what you call, or what I coin, a government of business. That is, we are going to run this government as a business in such a way that our youth will be gainfully employed, in such a way that we are going to attract foreign direct investment, that will broaden our GDP, in such a way that we are going to be an export-dependent economy, in such a way that we are going to bring about industrialization in our rural areas like Nigeria has never known it. We are going to run government in a business fashion.
Okay, I was actually going to ask you what your blueprints are, but I think you just talked about them right now.
Yeah.
So, what is your take on the high cost of this nomination form in other parties? We see white people would say, okay, our nomination form is this, and people can afford it. And then this other political party will say our nomination form is this. And the ruling party will say this is the amount of our nomination form. And even if people can afford it, they don't care. So what do you think about that? Do you think it's the high cost of nomination fare for other parties is really fair?
Well, I think placing a very high premium, monetary premium on political positions and forms for elective posts in a way mars our democracy, because you will find that persons who are qualified, who may not have that wherewithal, enough funds, to acquire the forms, enough funds to acquire the forms to, vie for elective posts, they will fall by the wayside. And so it's always the rich, the financially very buoyant, that the system shoots up as a result of the cost of nomination forms and the entire process. But I think that going forward, we should try and de-emphasize, money politics. When we talk about money politics, it's not about buying of votes alone, but it starts from the, beginning of the process. Where candidates who have what you call the pedigree, who have the capacity and the desire to serve, cannot access the funds to pay for the requisite forms. It puts them, aside, and just only the rich. And sometimes it's not just the rich that have the ideas. So
to them, it's as if it's the rich that has the country,
yeah,
or it's the rich that can rule the country.
Yeah. So I think that we should try and come down on those costs for forms, so that there will be some form of equity.
Okay.
You understand, in the recruitment process.
If you're to rate this present government, the ruling government, how would you rate it? Have they really performed better? Have they really performed better so far? Because obviously not everyone wants them to come back. And those speculations have been going around.
Governance indices. Governance indices are out there for you, you understand, to judge. There are different indices for good governance. Now, as far as I am concerned, there are certain areas where the government would have been said to have, done okay. But there are many more areas where the government is lacking, especially in the area of security. In the area of security, in the area of the economy, the government is lacking in all of these areas. And I think they could have done better. Okay. They could have done better.
So what you're saying is they haven't really, done their best in governing this nation so far?
Well, there are a lot of areas where they fall short.
Okay.
A lot of areas where they fall short. Governance is an all-encompassing concept. You understand? And so you do not just hit on one thing and then you think you've scored a goal. No, it's an all-encompassing concept. You're talking about economy. You're talking about security. You understand? You're talking about, other areas like education. You're talking about healthcare delivery. You're talking about all of these. Now, you're also talking about how to bring about, these strengthen institutions, deepen institutions of government. So in the area of the fight against corruption, whilst, they may have achieved some successes by the whistleblower policy and also by the repatriation of funds of certain politicians who had stashed some funds overseas. Well, in that area, you could say they have tried. But in many more areas, a lot is left to be done.
Sir, obviously, election will be coming up 2019, which is just less than a year from now. Do you think INEC is going to conduct a free and fair election come 2019?
It's our hope, it's our prayer that INEC conducts a free and fair election. But you understand, as with many other processes, it takes determination on the part of the leadership of the INEC to deliver free and fair elections. And INEC needs to make the people comfortable with their setup, with their processes, so that Nigerians will have no shadow of doubt whatsoever as to the competence of INEC and to the transparency of the system or the process. Now, what many Nigerians are saying now is that the leadership, the present leadership of INEC is suspect, in that certain persons or personalities within the leadership appear to have filial relationship with the incumbent. So Nigerians are asking that in order to show fairness, in order to show transparency, let that part of the leadership, be changed. Let people replace those people for whom Nigerians, or against whom Nigerians have doubt. And then let's give a level playing field. Let INEC come out as a neutral arbiter, be perceived to be so and be seen to be so. When that is done, I think Nigerians will have no doubt whatsoever as to the, the effectiveness of the body.
So still on INEC and the election, Osun State election, what's your take on it? Was it free and fair? Was the election what it's supposed to be? I mean the initial and the rerun.
Well, when it comes to elections, observing it from the outside, you may not have the complete picture. You may not have the complete picture. But from what we saw from what we saw, we were able to observe on the outside, there appear to be some concessions, a lot of concessions. And if the elections had tilted the way it had tilted, it was as a result of some concessions that were made. Don't forget there were 3 major parties vying for that position, and certain concessions were made by a 4th party that could have tilted the election results in the way it went. If you read my party's manifesto, we have 35% affirmative action for youths in Grassroots Development Party of Nigeria. The youth, they fall within that category of grassroots people by way of economic parameters. So the youth are a major focus of my party's policy thrust. Now, beyond that, I, as an individual, I have a passion for youth empowerment and youth development. My organization has scholarships that youths have benefited just to bring up, to prop up youth from disadvantaged homes. I have been a director of security in a tertiary institution where youth ministry, youth development has been my focal point. So the youth for me are key because they are the future. There's a saying, if you want to know how much or how great a nation can be in 10, 20 years, look at its youth of today. They are the pointer to the future. So a lot of investment needs to be made in them. And above all, if most of our leaders have not been doing it, youth empowerment and the rest, it's because they ain't got swag. I got swag. I am youthful at heart. I know the pains of the youth. I know the expectations of the youth. And we are going to meet them at their points of need. So as the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, Federal Republic of Nigeria, the youth are going to be proud that they have their president. To tell Nigerian youth that 2019 elections should not be about violence. Let them remember that of all the years that have been committing violence during election periods, violence had never translated into good governance. They have always been the worse off for it. Today it is said that almost 30% unemployment rate in Nigeria. The youths are the greatest victims. The people that they carry ballot boxes for never remember them in policy formulation and policy execution after they come to power. The youths remain where they are, unattended to. They remain where they are, unable to get gainful employment. They remain where they are. So I tell the youths, there's no politician for whom you carry ballot boxes or for whom you carry cutlasses to go and fight against their opponents. There's none of them whose child will be in your ranks, will be in the ranks of all you carrying ballot boxes and carrying cutlasses and machetes to go and fight. Remember, you have 2019 is about your future. You miss it this time, you miss out. Don't be involved in violence. If you want to be violent with your PVC. Vote rightly. Vote right. Defend your vote while there on the polling booth, at the polling booth. Don't fight for anybody. Vote right. Vote peacefully. Watch your vote count. And then you disperse. Never, never allow yourself to be involved in political violence.